and once again today actually doing a stream of JoJo Part 5 Golden Wind. We're good to go, we're good to go, we're good to go. So yes, actually have a return actually cover episode 30 of JoJo Part 5 Golden Wind, as episode 29 was deeply disturbing actually. The more I think about it, I was just, hello! I was thinking about it just now, I was like, wow, yeah, that was disturbing. I must say, they really did nail Chocolata's character. Actually could go, yeah, he's terrifying, to say the least. I must say the backstory was just it was the kind of territory of a JoJo. So yeah, I must say I'm actually quite looking forward to this episode to see actually how well they adapt this whole entire arc. See what else they have in store as well for Chocolata and also Seko as well. So anyways, actually plan to actually gone live. So we've gone live for episode 30 of JoJo Part 5 Golden Wind. And with that, as I save a single stream, we might be good to go. But are we though? That is the undying question. That's a question I actually don't know the answer to. On that front, we certainly are. On this front, we certainly are not. Oh man, we gotta wait still. Oh, it's gonna be worth it though. It's gonna be worth it. I assure you, it's gonna be worth it. So, anyway, it's actually putting the full stretch actually on a road. So in 3, 2, 1. It's actually doing this thing absolutely now. Mista is so cool though. Ow. Everything this guy does is disturbing. I hate him so much. He's so disturbing. He makes me kind of it's probably the only time I've actually been uncomfortable in JoJo besides like the like arc previously. It's such a weird thing. Just don't know what to feel. They did keep the button though. See, I thought that at one point because they did, because there was a subtitle that said their attacks won't begin. I thought, is that hello? Is that right? I'm not too sure. I don't know. Maybe it is. I must say 2019 is blessed with many things, but they kept in Seko's butt. We're blessed. We're absolutely blessed. This arc gave us one good thing. It's actually Araki's arse game. Which will become more apparent as time goes on, but I completely forgot Part 5 does have a slight bit of arse game in it. But yeah, I mean, Chiyokolatus is fucking disturbing. I can't stand him. I just can't stand that man at all. It's just everything he does. You just know what to, you don't know what to do, to laugh or to be like, what the hell? It's really weird. Because once you're in the relationship between Seko and Chocolata, it's disturbing. Oh yeah, you just noticed. It keeps on moving, actually. It keeps on moving, like, all the time. Ever since Resident 7, I've actually had a massive fear of mold. Like, massive fear of mold. It's actually quite interesting. Actually bring into question Butch Latty's character in a way, because in theory it's actually one of those things, like the way he acts would in theory kind of seem cold, but it's probably how he is, and actually it doesn't really get results in the end sometimes when you think about it. I mean, yeah, it's unorthodox sometimes, especially what happened with Abakio, but it's one of those things, if they stayed any longer, they might have actually kind of had more casualties in the end. But it's interesting, though. But this actually is a massively disturbing kind of arc, though. Oh, man. Yeah, it's true, though. That actually is quite true. It's the idea of actually having to be a leader, but also kind of keeping, like, kind of having that mix between personal feelings and being a leader. I do completely agree. Also, it's actually quite interesting that actually both stands are actually quite terrifying in their own right as well, in a way. Yeah, and the relationship they actually share is mostly disturbing. It's most disturbing. Though no one will actually tell me otherwise, but basically he actually is a Joker from the Batman universe. He has to be the Joker from the Batman universe. Wait a second here. Wait a second here. Just realised something. Isn't Sekko a massive reference to the man from Lost Highway? Because they both carry a camera. Is it Strange Man from Lost Highway? So yeah, in a way, this arc actually kind of doesn't really bring into question a lot of Bucciarati's character. Yes, boys. Yes, boys. Ew. Ew. Yeah, this is just like so disturbing in a way. They've really nailed these two so well. Like it's really disturbing how well they nailed them. It's because he has the Good Luck Bruno curtains, that's why. Oh yeah, I realised that last stream actually, but to actually mention it. Ken is Seko. Does he voice Jaden Yuki from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX actually, the more I think about it? Part 5 does have the best villains, I think, as well. Bruno, you're disturbing me. You're disturbing me, my boy. You're disturbing me, my boy. And there we go. The mystery of Bruno has been answered. Yeah, you can actually say that, to be honest. You could say that. You could say that as well. I mean, it's one of those things that you would be. It's one of those things. It's quite like heartbreaking that you finally realise what was going on with Bruno. Like if you're there at that one point, he did nail that whole entire section perfectly. To be honest. You can really, actually, because it's like one of those things that you can't do anything about it. Like, he's basically powerless. A Stan actually has so much power is actually reduced to being powerless. Kind of more in a less a physical sense and more a metaphorical sense. It's actually kind of one of those things that does really bring into question the fact that sometimes you just can't do anything about it. You know you want to, you just can't. It's also in a way, Chirrut is actually kind of the most irredeemable character in JoJo in a way. Well, in part 5 at least. Oh, that pose indeed. It's one of those things that I like how as time went on, like he actually literally has nothing in him. You can actually say, well, that's actually pretty alright about him. No, he's actually a complete irredeemable asshole. Like, even going as far as actually kind of jeopardize everyone else around and actually kind of, in a way, take out the trio. It's very kind of interesting because it kind of one of those things you kind of at that point just want him dead. He becomes less of a robot in a way and becomes more of like you have that hatred within you to actually see him die. I am very hyped as well, actually. But yeah, I mean it's interesting, I must say. It's interesting because it's actually one of those things that you can see in Giorno's face as well, how much he actually doesn't really despise him. Like, you could tell that he just wants to kind of take him down so fast because he's basically a massive asshole. And, I guess it doesn't affect the people around him, maybe? Don't know. Good point. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this episode was disturbing, but also it kind of brought to light what was going on with Bruno as well, because Bruno's kind of character in this whole entire section has been very interesting, actually. Like, mildly interesting, to say the least. Mildly is kind of an understatement, really. Very fascinating, actually, to kind of the better word, because he's basically kind of it's been like, what happened to him? Why is he not feeling any blood? But then at the same time, what was interesting was the only time he actually bled was when he bit his lip to actually leave a Bakio behind. Like, that's like, you actually can find that quite interesting because every single thing that's happened to him afterwards, there's not been a single drop of blood, but at that point there was. It kind of then highlights the importance that Bakio doesn't really have upon the actual trio. How, in a way, him leaving behind was this kind of arduous kind of thing to do. He didn't want to do it because that's his friend. He doesn't want to leave him behind, but he has to do it. So him biting his tongue, having that blood there, doesn't really signify the importance that that moment had on him in a way. It's quite interesting, actually. I thought it was quite interesting because at any other point he didn't really kind of bleed. I mean, that point in Venice as well, how he put his hand on the thing and nothing came out. But at that point, he didn't really bleed. Yeah, his heart was pumping again because it's one of those things, he lost someone so dear to him that it destroyed him. Like, it destroyed him so much that he actually kind of didn't very, in a way, come back to life for that brief moment, because other than that, there was no blood ever within him. So yeah, but I mean, it's actually quite interesting how they handle Bruno's character, because I always said there's actually been that power struggle between the both Giorno and Bruno, but not in the same way that you see in other shows. It's kind of like one takes over from the other as time goes on. But in the second half of this show, I mean, when King Crimson appears, it's, as time went on, slowly kind of broken down Bruno's character to the point he doesn't really kind of feel as if he's actually kind of leaving the actual kind of group, but in a kind of more metaphorical sense. I'm not sure, actually kind of maybe in the physical sense as well. Like, he's leaving. Like, and I like how they've actually handled him, because as time goes on, you do see the importance he doesn't really have, but you do also kind of acknowledge the fact that there's actually that kind of level of, like, he's slowly going beneath, lower and lower within the actual kind of, I guess dynamic in a way. Like, he's kind of always now being kind of questioned, like, why is he so cold? Why is he always like this? It's actually one of those things. It's actually quite interesting, because beforehand you always known Bruno's actions to be absolute. His actual ideas are absolute, but in this case it's like, why is he that way? Why can't he be a bit more courteous to everyone else? It's actually quite interesting, because it's actually broken him down. Like, he's not the kind of character we once knew before. He hasn't actually then raised John's character above him, but it's actually one of those things that's broken him down slowly. And I actually do really like that. It's one of the things that kind of brings into question more about Bruno's character. But you understand why he's the way he is, because it's one of those things he has to kind of juggle the idea, as we said during the stream, that he's a leader as well. Like, he has to kind of, he can't mask his own personal feelings over being a leader. He has to kind of get that in between. And sometimes what you define to be kind of not the correct thing to do, in his eyes it is, because he actually is the leader. He has to actually kind of help everyone in the way. That's the thing with him. He has to help everyone. But yeah, I mean, you can tell how hard that moment was for Giorno, because it actually then breaks down the power that these stands have, because again, as we know, stands are very powerful. It's one of those things, but even with Giorno's actual stand, actually can bring to life certain objects. It's one of those things that at this point didn't really bring Bruno to life, but it's one of those things that at this point he's powerless to actually help Bruno. He actually has to kind of sit there and watch in a way. It's actually kind of more arduous than what would have happened if, say, he just left him in King Crimson's arc. So it's one of those things. It's very it's deeply kind of troubling section, because he can't do anything. Like, in a way, Gold Experience is actually kind of powerless for the first time. It's actually quite interesting, because beforehand, don't get me wrong, there's been moments in JoJo where you've known Stan to be powerless compared to everyone else around them, but it's never been kind of highlighted as much as with a character moment as in this part. This part really didn't really kind of bring that out, but you actually can tell how powerless Gold Experience actually is towards what's actually going on here. So I really did like that, because it's a very subtle moment, but you actually do actually to see the fact is that Gold Experience actually is very much powerless to what's going on, and actually then brings into question how much power these stands do and free have. Yeah, I don't understand that either, because Giorno's fantastic as a character. Like, he's very multifaceted in a way. Like, he hasn't got a lot going on for a person of his age in a way. He's basically taken down the mafia, and also possibly losing someone very close to him as well. It's one of those things that actually can't really do anything about it. It's just like, I can't understand why everyone would actually not like him. He's actually an amazing character. He's a poor dude trying to actually kind of bring better society. But yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting kind of section now, because we're kind of heading into the end game in a way. In doing so, we're kind of learning more about what's going on here, and in doing so, it's kind of troubling to learn what actually is happening at this point. Yeah, he's in a way, he's kind of like, he wants to help everyone else around him. That's why I don't understand why people wouldn't like him. I don't know, maybe it's because the original translations weren't that great. That's probably why people didn't grab opinion on him that was too good. No idea, but he's probably the second or tied first best JoJo in a way. I would say he's kind of more stoic in a way. He's one of those characters that won't kind of allow emotion to get the better of him. He's one of those characters that actually would rather kind of be like, just bottle everything up until a moment happens and it just completely breaks him in a way. I don't know, that's how I've seen him though. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting now, because we're kind of having a different sense of dynamics going on here. In a way, also, it's a little bit with the group kind of breaking slowly apart as well, in certain ways as well, not to the actual degree that you would actually associate with a complete breakup, but it's actually kind of that little bit disconnect between them. especially with with Trish and Bruno now, because Trish's like, why is he that way? And then Anancha's like, well, we understand that's the way he is, and actually now we do in theory kind of question his own actions, actually how he feels, and actually what he does in theory do towards the plot of his narrative. And actually, it's very fascinating in a way. It's actually the more I kind of watch it, the more I'm actually kind of realizing how kind of deep in a way this part is, like in the sense of how much the actual themes and the actual writing does in theory go. It really does actually in theory add so much more to what this part actually does in theory mean. It's one of those things that not just this part is a JoJo part, it's more than that. It's actually kind of an advancement of what Araki actually did in 3 and accomplished in part 4 actually did in 3 as well. So yeah. I don't understand what people find him boring. I find him fascinating in a way as a character. Like where he came from to what he's actually doing and everything else, he's actually very kind of cool in a way. But yeah, I mean, next week's episode will be fantastic, I must say. It's going to be a good one next week. And actually then we kind of head into the end game in a way, yeah. So yeah. I would say part 7 kind of has that more as time goes on, but yeah, part 5 doesn't very kind of establish it straight away. But yeah, that is me done for today. So as always, if you have enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole on Twitch, then do leave a follow, because indeed it's been quite a bit. If you have enjoyed what I do here on YouTube and you do want to leave a like, then do leave a like, because indeed it's been quite a bit. If you have enjoyed what I do here on YouTube and you do want to stay a bit longer, then do indeed a sub, because indeed it's been quite a bit. If you want to stay a bit longer off a whole entire point, then do in theory leave a follow on Twitter, because indeed it's been quite a bit. On Twitter, actually, streams, live streams, I do as well. I should have a Twitter account, but if you have a Discord, I have one of those as well. Tells you when it streams or live streams, I do as well. But next episode 31 of JoJo Part 5 Gone on Wind. See you guys later. Bye for now.